Welcome back to the final score, everybody. Today we got a good episode for you. We're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, and we're also going to be talking about some other things that happen in the football world.
Alright, so Tom Brady winning his 7th ring against what seemed to be almost an unbeatable Kansas City team. Initial reactions, Jayden, how'd you feel about that game?
A lot of mixed emotions because obviously, as a Giants fan, I'm not the biggest fan of Brady. But it shows you a few things about the Chiefs, that they do have a little bit of holes in their offense. Obviously, their offensive line had some injuries, but they played terrible.
The enemy did not have this offense up
Yeah.
and running, which is kind of interesting considering he's been a head coach candidate for a lot of teams for a couple years now. So to see him on the biggest stage, he got it done last year, but to come back and have the best quarterback in football, not even for a touchdown, even with everything go on, I was pretty shocked.
Yeah, so was I. I was especially shocked with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Obviously, Travis Kelce did put up numbers, but he had a huge 3rd and, I think, 9 drop. Tyreek Hill, obviously, with a 30-yard touchdown that was dropped.
Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams with one of the craziest throws ever, and that was dropped.
That was the best. You said it before.
The
That
best
was like
incompletion
yeah.
ever. Yeah, it's there's only so much that you can put on Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he should have gotten in the end zone when they were in the red zone. They definitely should have gotten down and scored. But it's just the offensive line. He was running, dropping back instantly.
Yeah, he hiked the ball and immediately he ran a total of like 495 yards
behind the line
before a sack or throwing the
And
ball.
it's just incredible to see that he really did everything he could. His wide receivers didn't step up to the plate. Nobody really made a big play. Obviously, you can say Mahomes could have done a few things here, a few things there. But overall, I say Patrick Mahomes played solid. I think that most of the blame will be more put on the pass catchers.
I agree.
The defense a little bit, I guess, and the offensive line.
I do think, the defense deserves a little bit of blame, but I think it definitely relies more on the offense just because this is a pretty explosive Tampa offense that scored 31 points. Chiefs defense has never been fantastic. They've just always been coached good by Steve Spagnuolo. They've had a couple of playmakers like Tyrann Mathieu. So, to me, this falls more on the offense. Not 100%, definitely not 100% of Mahomes because terrible offensive line play. Like you said, Kelce racked in 10 for 133, but had a critical place that he blew. And like you said, Tyreek to go out there and just drop it. I mean, it was in his helmet. How do you not make that catch as a top 5 wide in this league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was thinking, and I still think to an extent that Mahomes should have gotten into the end zone. But he did have 2 touchdowns that were dropped. So essentially, he did get in. He put his wide receivers in a chance where they have 2 touchdowns.
I agree.
And they failed.
I think on the points, though.
Because in that case, if they did score those touchdowns, it was 31-9. Just with those touchdowns, they would have been, I think,
like
23
yeah.
to 31. But then you also have to factor in the penalties. Oh, man. The officiating was very bad, in my opinion.
That pass interference call where he leaped for, Mike Evans and he grazed his heel, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
And then 2 plays later, Tom Brady threw an uncatchable ball.
It's uncatchable, so there's no penalty.
There's no way you can catch that ball. It might as well have been through the uprights. Mike Evans had no chance of coming down with that. No way. Pass interference, put him at the 1-yard line, touchdown. It's just a lot of game changers. It seems like the Chiefs didn't really get any calls for him. Did they? Maybe 2 penalties? I mean, no, not disregarding or discrediting the Bucs. Obviously, Shaq Barrett.
Todd Bowles went out there and got his defense ready to play. Because you can look at the offensive line and everything, but that defense came to play. They were on their pass, their wide receivers. They were on that run game. They were everywhere.
And no disrespect to Tyreek Hill, because obviously he's a great wide receiver, top 5 in the league.
He's fast. He doesn't have the hands or the route running.
It's clear, obviously against the Bills that he had that drop that was about 40 yards. So you have a 40-yard drop there, and then you have a touchdown on the Super Bowl that was, I mean, I'm not saying it was an easy catch, but it went right through his hands and hit his helmet. if he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver, though, I think there's a lot of people I can name underneath that list that could catch that. Like Allen Robinson now.
There definitely is.
All those two. Even Chris Godwin would have caught that. A lot of wide receivers would have caught that. He couldn't come down with it. So it was a little disappointing from the pass catchers, especially when they have such a good receiving core.
And I also just wanted to talk about just my opinion with Mahomes with this game. No one's sitting here worrying about Mahomes going forward, but all I'm going to say is I do think one time, whether it was on the 3 times that they kicked a field goal, I think he should have got into the end zone at least once. I don't see a way they could have won this game with the offensive line playing as abysmal that they did, but I do think Mahomes should have got his team the end zone once, seeing how explosive of a team this is.
I agree. However, both of those plays, they were in the red zone, I believe, 3 times. One of them was at the end of the game. And 2 of those times, they had dropped touchdown passes that ended up, one of them after the drop, I think that was 4th down. Yeah, that was 4th down. So, I mean, the 2 times he got into the red zone, or 2 of the few times he got into the red zone, there was drop balls.
Yeah,
so no doubt he shouldn't have.
I don't put this game on Mahomes,
yeah,
but I think he should have gotten 1 touchdown.
I think there's no doubt.
I know it wouldn't have made the difference, but
I think that this, in my opinion, is just a learning experience for these guys, because there's no doubt that they're going to be back.
Oh yeah,
they're going to be back for years and years and years. So they're just going to have to adapt a little bit better. They're going to have to make some moves with their offensive line, maybe their defense, because their defense, I can't even put it on that. I think the offensive line is the biggest in the pass catchers.
Offensive line and the pass catchers. And Andy Reid made some questionable calls.
I agree.
They were in the 3rd quarter when they needed it most, and they were running the ball.
Yeah, and they weren't running hurry up either.
Yeah. Even questionable coaching by Reid and Bieniemy.
I was just disappointed overall because not even just with the offensive line. I was just disappointed even with the officiating, because it seemed like every time it looked like the Chiefs defense got a stop or made a big play. For instance, that interception that Honey Badger got, he intercepted, and it was an away from the play penalty. Just stuff like that really changes the game, because Mike Evans wasn't even being looked at. It was like a 3-yard stop, and they called the holding on somebody.
Yeah, there's going to be controversial calls all the time, but there's a couple too many in that game for sure.
And they were just all game changing, because 2 of them got them into the end zone in the same drive.
Yeah. And
then the other one stopped an interception. So.
But credit where credit is due. We've talked a lot about the Chiefs. Let's talk a little bit about the Bucs going out there. Like we said, Todd Bowles got his defense ready. They delivered with Levante David, Shaq Barrett, JPP. JPP's undefeated in playoffs. I saw that today. 4-0 with the Giants and 4-0 with the Bucs. And Brady, 7 rings. He leaves New England. He's been called a system quarterback just because he played with Belichick, the greatest coach. And then he comes over for Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay. In midseason, there was a lot of question as to whether they could get it done. I was questioning. They didn't look like a Super Bowl team at all, nonetheless win it. But then he comes in, he gets a job done all for the playoffs, and gets it done in a big moment in his first year on a new team, switching conferences to the NFC, and that's his 7th ring. I mean, that is just unbelievable.
For sure. I mean, one thing I want to talk about, I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting Brady, because what he's doing at 43, and even if he wasn't 43, he's playing amazing right now. But the Bucs defense is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, you see that they held the Packers and the Chiefs to way lower than they would normally score. And it was just impressive how good they played. Shaq Barrett, we'll see on the Giants next year.
Yeah. And Brady went 21 for 29.
Mm-hmm.
Only 8 missed passes. Only for 200 yards, but he didn't really need to throw for more.
Yeah.
He had 3 touchdowns, 2 to Gronk in the first half. So I wanted to talk about, because I saw it on First Take, and I've heard Anthony mention it before, the belief that, we can look at this game and we can say, oh, well, Mahomes didn't have his offensive line, and that's all true, and I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this should be held against Mahomes. However, in the eye of everybody, 10 years down the line, if Mahomes is indeed what we think he is, and we're going to be calling him with Joe Montana and Tom Brady and John Elway, Peyton Manning, all those guys. Oh my gosh, I completely just lost my train of thought. Oh, Is Mahomes going to be able to be better than Brady? I don't think so because they're going to look at this. They're going to say 43-year-old Tom Brady beat 24, 25-year-old Pat Mahomes in his prime. And they aren't going to look at the stats.
Yeah, I have to go ahead and disagree with that. I think it's going to be very difficult for Mahomes. I think that was guaranteed. I mean, I think either way that was going to be really hard. Even if it did beat Brady, I thought it was going to be tough. But I still think, say somehow Mahomes can get one more ring than him, then I still give it to Mahomes because Mahomes clearly, obviously Brady did it with 2 teams, but it's clear that Mahomes is doing more for the team than Brady was for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And
Brady's 43 though.
right, but even when he was in New England, not taking away from Brady, he still had, so does Mahomes, but he still had a great defense, the best coach of all time, a good O-line. The only thing he didn't really have was wide receivers. I'm not taking away from Brady once again, but I still think it's doable. I think
it's going to be insanely
Yes,
hard
it will
because
be.
if he wins 7 rings, depending on how he gets those 7 rings, people's going to still say, okay, Brady beat him. There's a tiebreaker. If he gets 8 rings, that's an absurd amount of rings.
I still think even if they got the same,
I just think the vast majority of people is going to look at that and say Brady beat him.
I think if they each have 7, though, people are going to be overwhelmed with stats because it's not going to. If Mahomes does in fact get those 7 rings, he will blow them out in every single statistic that there is. Because right now, at least in the first 3 years, he has
breaking records.
thousands of more yards. I think it was 50 more touchdowns, 10 less interceptions, and 1 less start. So, in my opinion, if they do both have 7 rings, which is going to be insanely hard for Mahomes to do, if they both have 7 rings, at this rate, I think Mahomes will be better.
In my opinion, it's the same way I feel about LeBron in the NBA. I do believe Jordan's a GOAT, but I'm just saying, I don't see a player coming up right now that I'm going to look at and say they're going to be better than LeBron.
Yeah.
And Mahomes can be better than Brady.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I just feel like growing up, I believe Brady's the greatest of all time. And if Mahomes can somehow get it done with all those rings, like I said, he's going to have the stats over Brady. He definitely can be the GOAT, but right now, if you had to ask me who will be the GOAT after Mahomes retires, I'm going to say Brady.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Mahomes will be the greatest, but I will say it's going to be a good argument if Mahomes can get 7.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to be what do you value more? Because they have the same amount of rings. Who won it against each other or not? They got the same amount of rings on the finger. It's the question of, obviously, Mahomes lost to Brady. So what's more valuable? Mahomes losing to Brady, or Mahomes destroying him in the stats? Now, in my opinion, if they have the same amount of rings, then Mahomes will be the greatest because even though this was a big hit to Mahomes because losing to a 43-year-old quarterback is unheard of.
It just made that steep incline that he's have to go up even steeper.
Right. But in a world where Mahomes gets 7 rings, I think Mahomes better.
I don't know. I mean, I'll have to see. I can't really make that judgment right now, but I just believe that from where we are right now, not even predicting the 7 rings, I think Brady still will be better.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I agree.
Let's also not leave that Brady's going to have 7. I mean, he's 43. And during the middle of the season, there was definitely, I was looking like, oh, Brady's overthrown his receivers a little bit. He's thrown 10, 15 yards. Even, I think they played the Rams this year, and he threw like a horrible interception to end the game. But then something about him in the playoffs just came up and took over like Brady does. So he's going to play past he's 45, I think. He's 43 now. He'll be 43 next year.
Hopefully that's not like Jordan when he came back. I don't want it to hurt his legacy, you know what I mean? Like how when he came back with the Wizards, how he played terrible?
Oh, yeah, but Jordan didn't take care of his body at all.
Yeah.
What the TB12, what Brady does,
right,
it works.
Yeah.
He's 43, looks like he's about 33.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to play past he's 45, and he's going to play to the point where
he can't play anymore.
He can't. And I think he's got a couple, minimal time, but he's got a couple years left where with the team around him that they have now, they can be back there.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention is, I really do think that this is going to be the football version of the Jordan MJ debate, or Jordan LeBron debate, because I do think Brady will hold the rings over Mahomes. But I think Jordan's the GOAT, but I think LeBron's a better player. I think that...
Yeah, Magic Johnson said that. Like,
I
LeBron's
think the best. But, and the only thing that's kind of holding LeBron down, well, one of the biggest things is the rings. How LeBron's lost in the finals. I think it's going to be a similar thing. I think me personally, I think if Mahomes kept up like this for his prime and through his career, he's a much better quarterback than Brady. He's more versatile and he's so explosive. The only thing that Brady has over him is the rings. So the people that value rings are going to say Brady, and the people that value just straight gameplay are going to value Mahomes.
Yeah, the people that say Jordan right now are probably going to say Brady, and the people that say LeBron right now will probably say Mahomes.
Yeah.
Even if Mahomes only gets like 4 or 5. Because Mahomes is probably going to dominate with the stat sheet, with the pace that he's on.
And in my opinion, the reason I'm even talking about the possibility of 7 rings, I think they're going to win next year. Obviously this is way early predictions. I think over the next few years, as long as their team, I don't see it decreasing that much. I think they're going to be back there. I think that the AFC, I don't see a team that can beat them because the Steelers are going to go down. The Bills, even though they could obviously get better, Josh Allen was playing potentially at his peak.
Yeah.
And they still lost.
Not speaking that
the
playoff
Ravens, maybe. I don't see it. I think that the Chiefs...
Ravens are one of the only teams that I can see, only if they can get some help on that offense, that could maybe do it, but I would still take the Chiefs.
The AFC, I mean, like in the AFC, there's just not a ton of people. Maybe the Browns...
Wherever Deshaun goes, if he does go to a really good team, I'm not talking about like the Jets or anything like that, but wherever Deshaun goes, that would be interesting too. Just because I looked at the Chiefs this year, and when the Raiders beat them, I never really once this year did I go, they're unbeatable. Even though like they can be unbeatable at times because Mahomes goes out there.
Right.
But I do think the Chiefs have been beatable.
Next year they won't be.
And next year...
Bold prediction, they go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl.
I think they'd be the first or second team to ever do because, look, Brady didn't get it done because Eli got it done.
Yeah, but I mean... Deshaun's going to, not going to be a Final Score podcast unless we talk about Deshaun.
Oh, man. Every time, man.
If Deshaun goes to the AFC, the only thing I will say about that is that they did play each other before. Obviously, the Texans weren't very good. They had a better defense than they have now, but
I don't think...
No matter how good the team is, Deshaun was up 24-0 when the first quarter was over. Or 21-0 with ball.
Yeah.
And somehow he let that lead slip away from him. No matter how bad that defense is, they scored 3 touchdowns in a row playing the same defense. They stopped the Chiefs 3 times in a row playing that same offense.
I'll say the teams...
And they choked.
I'll say the teams that I think had a less than 50%. So I'm favoring the Chiefs over these teams, but I think these teams pose the best threat to beat them. Not win the Super Bowl, just beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. If somehow in the world of possibility John Gruden got the Raiders to the playoffs, I think the Raiders could beat them. Just because they beat them once this year, and they almost beat them twice in their divisional rival, and I don't think
they'll make the playoffs, though.
I'm just saying if they somehow did.
Right, okay.
If the Colts get a quarterback, I think, like I'm saying, I'm favoring the Chiefs in these matchups. I'm just saying the best threats in the AFC. I think the Colts possibly could. If the Broncos, no, I'm kidding. If the Ravens, I'm hesitant on the Ravens just because I feel like the Chiefs kind of own the Ravens. So I don't really know about that. Only way I'd see that happening is if they get a ton more weapons for Lamar. And if Lamar starts to step up and pass the ball, then maybe. But other than that, those are really it. I don't really see a lot of teams that can beat the Chiefs in the AFC.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Colts, once again, they're going to need a good quarterback. Lamar is going to need DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams in the receiving corps. No, he's just going to need a receiver. And he's going to show that he can play up because Lamar...
You talking about Lamar?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Lamar lover, but he obviously has talent, but it's just hard for me to say the Ravens are a contender when he played the Bills and they got held to how many points did they score? How many actual points did Lamar get in the end zone?
No, remember Lamar for the pick six in the third quarter.
But did they have 3 points at that point? I believe.
I think so.
And then I think whoever came back in got a touchdown at the end of the game. But Lamar, Bills defense, don't get me wrong, they have a solid defense, but they're not lights out like the Ravens defense was. And Lamar played pathetic. He threw the ball very little. He threw terrible throws. You see, he threw 2 picks in this playoffs. He threw one against the Titans, and that was the worst pick I've ever seen. And he also threw a pick against the Bills in probably the biggest moment of the game. So he's going to have to prove to me that he can actually step up.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
Not running the ball, because the Bills shut him down like you would not believe.
That's the thing.
Because all they did was, you know what, we're not going to let Lamar run. He ran a little bit, and he could not throw the ball. He looks like he doesn't know how to play the game of football when he doesn't have running as an option.
What he's going to need to do in the offseason is, because if the Ravens get to the playoffs, which they will, in my opinion.
Who?
The Ravens.
Yeah, I agree.
Defenses are going to look how to take Lamar out of the running game. That's going to be their main focus, because if that's not your main focus, he's probably going to exploit you.
Yeah.
So then Lamar's going to have to rely on his passing game. So if he doesn't work on that significantly with whatever wide receiver they get, if he can get a Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen-esque connection with his guy, then I think the Ravens could maybe do something.
I agree.
Because Saquon said his favorite QB in the league, so gotta give credit.
Running back respects running back.
Yeah, get out of here with that. But no, Chiefs will probably make Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a stamp on it and say they will, but it's going to be a great season next year.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the Rams. Obviously, because they have a great. What do you think that they could make a run for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, just because I believe that Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks at least I've ever watched. So I think potentially, with all the cast and crew that they have, and guys like Marvin Jones saying they want to come over and help, just because, they got that connection, I think the Rams definitely could make it to the Super Bowl. NFC is going to be interesting next year.
Yeah,
There's going to be a lot of different teams.
You're going to have the Giants.
Hey,
and that's not even me joking around. If we could get someone like Shaq Barrett, that's a dream. Or an Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin or someone, Danny's going to have some help.
It sounds like we're joking, but let's remember when the Giants won Super Bowl, they were 9-7. Giants have never been a great regular season team, and I think we'll be a pretty good regular season team next year with Joe Judge. But yeah, the NFC is pretty wide open.
Yeah.
Speaking of the NFC, the Cowboys released a hype video. It was either today or yesterday, and I was watching First Take, and Dak Prescott was not in this hype video. This was showing highlights of all their players from the past few seasons, getting people excited for next season.
He wasn't even the highlights.
No, he wasn't even in it.
Yeah.
And there's already so much controversy with them not have been able to get a contract in the past 3 years. He is so deserving of the contract. He's deserving of the money, I think, that he wants. Not higher than Mahomes or anyone like that, but he's deserving of a lot of money. So I wonder, the Cowboys media team should definitely hear it out from Jerry Jones. But I wonder where Dak will be playing next year. Yeah, I'm not saying this is the thing, but there's a lot of dominoes falling right now.
I'm not saying that there's not a chance that Dak Prescott will be moved, because there obviously is. That video is weird. I don't think that's. I think it might be kind of just like a thing that happened, maybe.
That media team is like morons or something, man. How do you not put your starting quarterback in the video?
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, but I think he'll probably be playing for the Cowboys. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, so not really much else to talk about unless you already said your Super Bowl favorite for next year.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs will come back for vengeance.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be my Super Bowl favorite just because they're still the best team.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really see Tom Brady getting back, though, next year with the Bucs.
I think that even though I'm not saying he can't, but I think it was sort of a quote-unquote fluke. I'm not saying that the team wasn't great, but they just got hot at the right time.
And speaking of getting hot at the right time, I wanted to talk, because this is also something that I've been hearing debating. You know, in my belief, I think the best playoff run ever was by Eli in '07, taking down the undefeated Patriots, who would have been crowned the greatest football team of all time if they won that Super Bowl. But they didn't. And I think the Giants, you know, they went against some great teams. If you look at some of the names, I don't really remember them at the moment, but if you look at the names of the quarterbacks he played, the teams they played, you know, I don't know if this was 11 or 6, I forget, but playing Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think that was the greatest run of all time.
Because some people are trying to say this was with Brady, and I don't really see that. Because first off, first round, Tyler Heineke. Heck of a story, but you know what I'm saying? Third string QB. Just got called up to play. And then Drew Brees. No disrespect to Drew Brees, but he's definitely on the decline and is most likely going to be retiring this offseason.
Right.
Then Aaron Rodgers, MVP. That was a great game that they won. Credit where credit is due. And then they went out, and Tom Brady did definitely win the Super Bowl, but the Bucs defense showed up. So I definitely think the greatest run I've seen is by the Giants, not this Bucs team.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't really know where that argument came from. But that should about do. I don't think there's anything else we wanted to cover, right?
Not really. We'll be having some good episodes soon to come. We'll be talking about some of the NBA. Hopefully with Anthony and Dylan too.
Yeah, hopefully. It seems like it's just me and you on a lot of these. But for now, this has been
Final score.